Are we live? We are live. All right. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll go ahead and call the regular scheduled council meeting for May to order. And two things I want to recognize before I turn it over to Councilwoman Johnson is number one, how many mothers do we have in the house? Can you raise your hand? All of you mothers, happy Mother's Day week to you. Thank you for what you do for our community. Yeah. And we have the gentleman that I call my mayor, Mayor Ricky Waring, who served here. Mayor, thank you for being here. We appreciate your support of this town. And that gave us enough time to get through all 6 chimings of the bell. And I'll turn it over to you, Councilwoman, for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
This month's employee spotlight is Tyler Bassano from our IT department. He is our network administrator. And this is from IT manager Lenny Larkin. Tyler has been an integral part in the formal formation of the IT department. He has taken on an incredible amount of work relocating police and fire personnel during the new public safety complex project. Along with being the network administrator, Tyler also volunteers with the police cadets by mentoring them and conducting training. Recently, the Hanahan Police Department asked for assistance with a problem preventing their in-car and body-worn cameras from wirelessly uploading video evidence. As a result, officers were required to return to headquarters to manually upload footage. Since the footage is critical evidence, the time-consuming process was unavoidable. Motorola support could not identify a solution, and the city of Hanahan was considering replacing the entire camera system at significant cost. After meeting with Hanahan's IT department, Tyler identified a network configuration issue and recommended changes were implemented. Video evidence then successfully uploaded, which saved the city a large expenditure. And this is from Police Chief Doug Wright. I've had the pleasure of watching Tyler grow up from a young police cadet into a seasoned information technology administrator. He is reliable and someone we can always count on, especially in the public safety sector where saving time saves lives. Congratulations.
Thank you. Right here. So how many of you know that IT professionals prefer to be behind the scenes 9 times out of 10? I could almost feel like he's like, all right, give me this award and let me move on. Yeah, I could tell. But we really want to recognize you and honor you for what you've done for the town. Many of you know that we encountered a cyber attack somewhat recently, and Tyler's expertise has been added to help strengthen our system. Public safety is the foundation of municipal government, and our public's not safe if we're not cyber secure as well. So thank you for everything that you do for our town. Appreciate you. Yeah.
Next, we have a proclamation for Building Safety Month.
You want
Whereas the town of Somerville is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depend on the safety and essential role our homes, buildings, and infrastructure play, both in everyday life and when disasters strike. And whereas our confidence in the resilience of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas these guardians are dedicated members of the International Code Council, a nonprofit that brings together local, state, territorial, tribal, and federal officials who are experts in the built environment to create and implement the highest quality codes and standards to protect us in the buildings where we live, learn, work, and play. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by ICC to remind the public about the critical role of our community's largely unknown protectors of public safety, our code officials, who assure us of safe, sustainable, and affordable buildings that are essential to our prosperity. And whereas Built to Last is the theme for Building Safety Month in 2026, it encourages us to all get involved and raise awareness about building safety on a personal, local, and global scale. Now therefore does Russ Hutchberry, Mayor of the Town of Somerville, along with the Town Council, hereby proclaim May 2026 as Building Safety Month.
I just want to take a quick poll. How many tradesmen, contractors, engineers do we have in the room that get involved in the construction of a lot of our public infrastructure? When you sit here in this room, you don't feel like you're just going to fall through the floor. Nobody second guessed your safety in this building. And that's because of each of you, as well as our code officials. And I will tell you, we have the best in the business because I hear it day in and day out from folks that Rebecca Brown and her team represent our town so well. So thank you for what you do. We appreciate it. That's right. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, number 5, approval of minutes of previous meetings. I'd make a motion to approve the minutes A through C with an amendment to the April 9th, 2026 council meeting minutes to reflect that I voted in favor of Mr. Halter's amendment to item 8B, a rezoning of 115 South Magnolia Street.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to approve as amended by Councilwoman Garten. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Ladies and gentlemen, I know it's public comment time. I want to give a few ground rules. We pride ourselves in the town of Somerville with respectful dialogue between maybe opposing views and initiatives. And tonight is going to be no different. So we're going to hold fast to the 3-minute time frame. We'd love for your group, if you're a part of a group, to have maybe some identified spokespeople or representatives that can address some of your position. And when that person finishes, instead of cheering or booing, which we will not tolerate because it increases the time it takes to get through things, if you would just raise your hand if you concur with the comments that were spoken very respectfully, that gives council an idea of the folks who are in support of that position or not in support of that position. It just gives us a good landscape. If someone covers an item before you and you agree with that item, there's no need to go through every detail of that item. If you want to, you can just say, I concur with the previous speaker on this point and move on to any other additional points you want to make. This is just intended so that we're respectful of everybody's time and make sure that we hear everybody as well, because that's very important. So thank you for being here tonight. I'll turn it over to you, Madam Clerk.
Right, I have two public comments that were submitted via email, and as we did last month, I'll read the name, their address, and what, if they're for or against. First one is from Shannon Sutton of South Magnolia Street, and she is against the rezoning at 103 South Magnolia. And the second is from Bertie Crosby, who is against the rezoning at 103 South Magnolia, and also concerned about the proposed event district. And with that, first for public comment, Larry Collette.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Larry Collette, and I serve as president of the Newington Plantation Estates Homeowners Association. I'm here tonight to speak about an agreement our neighborhood has reached with Somerville Methodist Church regarding the parcel at the entrance of our community. I want to publicly thank Pastor Ross Chellis, Greg Cook, Michael Wood, and Council Member Kim McGarten for working with us in good faith to get to this point. These conversations were not easy, but they were honest and they were respectful, and that matters a great deal to the families who live in our neighborhood. The agreement does two things that are important to our neighborhood. First, it gives Newington Plantation Estates a right of first refusal to purchase the property if the church ever decides to sell with at least a 45-day notice. And second, it places a deed restriction on the property that prohibits multifamily development and or prohibits selling the property to any developer who intends to build multifamily units on it. I want to be clear about something. We are putting our faith in Pastor Chellis and his team and in the leadership of Somerville Methodist Church to honor this agreement, not just in the letter of it, but in the spirit of it. Our families trusted that when we bought our homes, that the neighborhood would be protected. Tonight, we are extending that trust to the church, and we have every reason to believe it will be honored. To Pastor Chellis, Mr. Cook, Mr. Wood, and Council Member Kim McGarten, we just want to say thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for meeting us at the table, and thank you for standing by your word. We look forward to being good neighbors to you for many years to come. Thank you.
Ross Chellis.
Thank you. My name is Ross Chellis, and I am the pastor of Somerville Methodist Church. I'd like to take a moment and just ask if you are a member of Somerville Methodist Church, will you just stand for me? Thank you. I want to let you know that I'm here to speak on behalf of these individuals who represent just a portion of our congregation. I can't tell you how thrilled I was to see an email from Larry Collette today. To know that we are finally getting to a place where we're having real conversation. And I want to clarify with the council, especially because we are going on public record, that we do indeed intend to work with the Homeowners Association to create a deed restriction. I did receive an email from Larry Collette today, and outlined in that email, there were specific items, specific details to that deed restriction. I need to make clear to you all, just as I made clear in my response email to Larry and in a similar email that you should all find in each of your inboxes, the way that our church is organized, I do not have authority to make unilateral decisions in that respect. We have a very specific process about how we make decisions. And so as I stand before you, yes, we are committed to working with the HOA in building a deed restriction that is both fair and is reasonable. But for that would also include making sure that this is being handled legally, and that it be both our lawyers being in conversation with the homeowners association's lawyers. In addition to that, the process that we have is that our administrative side of the church is overseen by elected members of our congregation known as the core leadership team. They would then be the ones working directly with the HOA to review and to ultimately approve what this deed restriction or whatever it is that we put together would be. And then they would then recommend that to our congregation for a vote. That vote, according to our bylaws, would require 2/3 of our congregation to approve. So I just want to be clear as we enter into this together that you understand the process that our church would have to abide by.
Thank you, Mr. Chalice.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate you.
Chris Glaze,
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Chris Glaze. I'm a Somerville resident, founding member of the Somerville Methodist Church, and a member of its core leadership team. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on our annexation and zoning request. At its core, this is about creating a permanent home for a joyful, spiritually driven, and rapidly growing church. To that end, I would like to pass on a couple of facts and some clarifying points on our request. 3 important facts. First, our church was first approved by the South Carolina Secretary of State to operate as a 501(c) nonprofit religious entity on 6 December 2024, with an effective date of 1 January 25. This was a year prior to our purchase of the property. The name of the nonprofit religious entity is Ambassadors of 1857, doing business as Somerville Methodist Church. Finally, we are a laity-driven church. That means members of the congregation are actively involved in the governance. We are driven by a constitution and bylaws. And what Ross spoke about earlier, I won't cover. Now, some points of clarification. Although a multifamily proposal for this site was deliberated on by this council in the past, the developer never purchased the property, unlike our situation today. As our plans for the church campus have matured in 2026, we have been ever cognizant of the fact that our church is growing and continues to do so, 150% alone in 2025. And so in our early plan, it became clear the 2 parcels needed to be combined to create one church campus. To do that, of course, they must share the same zoning of the parcels that we currently have. We consulted with town staff and followed their guidance in aligning the smaller parcel with the larger tract's existing MFR zoning. But it should be known that the MFR zoning is already a permitted use in all comparable nearby commercial and mixed use districts. Most importantly, our proposed use is likely the lowest density meaningful use for this property. It will add no residential units, no additional students in overcrowded schools, no added weekday school or rush hour traffic. What we will add is a joy-filled church already committed to the local missions and outreach in our community. Finally, I'd like to say, I love this church. I love the people. I love the way, in the absence of our own space, that we have come together each Sunday for the last 17 months to create a worship space for our family of faith. It shows a resilience and commitment to something bigger than themselves. Now, I've been praying over the council's decision, our church members' hopes, and that we can be good neighbors to the Newington residents and community. May God's will be realized in all these prayers. Thank you.
Danny Wright,
Good evening, Mayor, Town Council members. My name is Danny Wright. I'm a local business owner and a member of the core leadership team at Somerville Methodist Church. This evening, I'd like to briefly explain why MFR is the most practical, appropriate zoning classification for our church campus. The primary issue before you is functionality and site design, not residential density. As shown in the zoning comparison table provided, the classification differs substantially in lot coverage, setbacks, parking flexibility, building separation requirements, building height allowances, and the ability to accommodate multiple structures. Building height is an especially important consideration for our church campus. Under MFR, the maximum height is 55 feet, Church spires, towers, and similar architectural elements are specifically recognized differently within this ordinance framework. Residential districts are substantially more restrictive and are not designed around a church campus style development. SMC understands variances are available, but they are not guaranteed, restricted by state law, would delay our timeline, add an additional layer of unnecessary risk, and have negative financial impacts. MFR allows 65% lot coverage compared to approximately 30 to 35% in residential districts. That flexibility matters because a church campus requires buildings, parking, circulation, preservation of buffers, and the ability to support future ministry growth. The residential classification significantly restricts building footprint, placement flexibility, and overall site functionality. Commercial and mixed-use districts also allow multifamily, but those districts are intended for retail, business, and urban-style development patterns, not a low-impact church campus environment. It's also important to recognize that churches throughout our town exist within a variety of zoning classifications today, and are largely because most of those churches were established prior to the current UDO, and in some cases prior to zoning existing in the town of Somerville at all. MFR provides a balanced flexibility necessary for a functional church campus while remaining consistent with the zoning context, the town, and regulations. If you are here in support of Somerville Methodist Church, please raise your hand and leave it raised at this time. At its core, this project is about creating a permanent place where we can continue worshiping together, serving our neighbors, supporting our families, investing in future generations, and strengthening the community that we all care deeply about. We respectfully ask for your support. We thank you for your time, and we thank you for your service to the town of Somerville. Thank you.
Mark Bacher.
Good evening, council. Thank you for giving me the chance to talk tonight. My name is Mark Bacher. I'm a resident of Newington for many years. As discussed by many, we welcome Somerville Methodist Church, but this is a discussion about zoning. What's the right zoning for this church? A year ago, it was unanimously decided 7-0. This is not an MFR property. They're trying to change that agreement based upon wanting to build a church, but we're not discussing building a church. We're talking about changing the zoning. Now, at the beginning, Larry talked about an agreement. But I heard something different from Pastor Ross. He said, we're talking about an agreement, and I can't agree to that. It's got to go to our whole council, our members, and everybody to agree. I'm also disappointed. I think everyone knows the golden rule: do unto your neighbors as you'd like to do unto you. It's sad we don't have many representatives from Newington here. I was here at 5:25 and the last person to get upstairs because people from Somerville Methodist packed the house and are not allowing us to talk tonight. I don't think that's very Christian either. My request to town council is let's delay this 1 month. We'll have an agreement in place. And if it's got a deed restriction, then everybody be happy. If they can't come to an agreement within a month, then I guess we really know who we're dealing with, the Somerville Methodist. And those few people from Newington, if you'd like to raise your hand, feel free to do so now.
Seth Schwartz.
Good evening. In light of recent developments, I took a hatchet to my speech just now, so bear with me. Most of all, we heard your words, and I would like to agree with everything that was just said. That was a concern of mine. Everything is just that, words, until they are documented in paper. Our concern is not the church building. It's about what happens to the remaining buildable land and what is actually going to be used with it. There are expansion plans in place for that. That has been loosely discussed up until now, and upon entering this room, there was suddenly an agreement that was made that is not able to be inked while this decision is made. I find that a little bit befuddling and counterproductive. religion should never be a business. We're hearing from business minds and LLCs, and I know in the church, people tend to have equal votes as a member. So that makes sense that it is like a board. There again, although businessmen and lawyers have found it to be a perfect legal framework to amass wealth and property in the name of God, I don't stand by that. The words and actions of our association of families has spoken before against a developer. We are now looking at a church, and unfortunately, they sound much the same. I find that disappointing, and that the fiduciary responsibility of the church seems to be paramount, and we are asked to be better neighbors in response. They knew the terms of the land when they purchased it. In fact, they even said that. They said that unlike the developer, we bought the land. So they bought a property knowing that they would have to come in and push in the direction that they wanted it to, rather than respecting what it was already declared as and voted on last year. They came to the table initially with that argument in opposition to our request. They denied compromise, and then they now proceeded ahead. You stood with us before and represented our collective, and we appreciate that. Please hear us and responsibly make your choice today, and trust Newington has spoken again. Even though we're not in the room, we are here. Our voices did not change. Please vote no. Thank you. No, not no to the church, no to the zoning, or at least have it in legal form first. Thank you.
Kevin Carroll. Dennis Chickless.
Yeah, sorry. Mr. Chickless, you're on deck.
Good evening, Mayor Touchfree, members of Town Council, Kevin Carroll, Thames Avenue, Somerville. Tonight, the agenda has again the annexation on King Charles. Parcel was multifamily zones denied last year unanimously because of the issues of density, traffic, noise across the street from two elementary schools. They're all still valid reasons for the denial of a multifamily zoning. Nothing has changed. The current owner, the Ambassadors of 1857, is requesting the change to multifamily to match the adjoining parcel. That larger parcel seems to have a very interesting history. First, it was agricultural purposes in the 1900s. In the 1980s and 90s, the developers of Newington had plans for single-family residences, and somehow by magic, it's miraculously multifamily today. I missed something on that, and I still can't figure out where it happened. How it evolved from those designations to multifamily is a mystery. The properties included in the town's single-family residential area is identified in the comprehensive plan and the future use map. A sign posted on King Charles identifies as the future home of Somerville Methodist. Zoning is Somerville zoning allows churches and all other religious institutions in all zones except public land. So there's no need for church to ask for multifamily in order to build their church. Keep in mind that all the major churches in and near the historic district are all in the general residential zoning. And to be fair and equal, this parcel should be the same. I have never known a religious institution to be denied a zoning variance. And I came from New England, and sometimes up there, they're a lot tougher, but they always got what they needed. No one I have spoken to about this issue has any negative comments about the church building there. I hope it's there into the next century. It's a designation of multifamily that will run with the land that is the problem. I wish the church all the best. May they be there forever. But if their plans falter and they decide to have other plans and move elsewhere, the 550 families of Newington will again face the specter of a 180-unit apartment complex like New York City and our general residential zone. I yield back the balance of my time. Thank you.
Mr. Chickless. Greg Cook.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Greg Cook, and I can't see without my glasses, but I moved to Somerville in 1999, and I currently serve as the chairman of the core leadership team at Somerville Methodist Church. Thank you guys for coming out to support us. Mr. Collette seemed to imply that we had an agreement in place. We received an email today with an offer and agreement for the first time at 1 p.m. today. We don't have an agreement in place. I just want to be crystal clear about that. But we do intend to work with them in the future, and we would love to work something out. But there's been some misinformation, so I just want to address that. And we only have 7.5 buildable acres out of the 39 acres. So just to clarify a couple of points from earlier, I'm here today to speak in support of our request for annexation and MFR zoning so that we can move forward with the development of our new church home. The facts matter. Fact, our church moved forward with purchasing this property after we were assured that our intended use would be amenable to the neighborhood. We met with them in December. Fact, this is not a speculative multifamily development. We have no intentions in that regard. Fact, this property is not going to be flipped. We have no intentions in that regard. Fact, we have held services on site. We have active use of the property, and we have a long-term commitment to this location and this town. Fact, this project adds 0 students to an already strained school system because it creates no residential units and no student involvement. Fact, this project adds 0 cars during peak weekday commute times. Church activity happens on Sundays and Wednesdays, evenings and weekends. There is no conflict. Fact, this is low density use. Fact, the development has been designed around the natural character of the property. The plan preserves existing wooded areas and keeps large natural buffers around the edges. It centers the building within the combined parcels. In fact, we borrowed your tagline, Somerville Methodist under the pines. Our third-party architect and engineers have never worked on or discussed any options except plans for our new church and our future phases of our new church. In fact, we own the property. Any ongoing delay, as suggested, create a financial burden for our church, and postponement would directly harm our effort and our momentum and our capital campaign. 53 seconds left. We have also tried to be good neighbors throughout the process. Our leadership team made a good faith effort to communicate with them and the surrounding neighborhood. In February, we sent a letter to Newington HOA and the surrounding residents explaining our plan, our desire to be long-term neighbors, and our commitment to transparency. The HOA acknowledged appreciation for that outreach and support for the church's intended use. At the same time, they wrote us a letter on February 25th asking for restrictive covenants, permanently limiting the property to church use as they wanted, approval rights over all future land use changes, and a $20,000 payment to the HOA in exchange for support of the annexation. I don't know how you feel about that. It didn't feel good to us. Didn't feel neighborly. You'll see a letter dated 2/25 if you need to. We listened. We tried to work with them. We explored deed restrictions way back then, but after discussion with our leadership team, we could not agree to those requests.
Thank you, Mr. Cook.
Debbie Tomczyk.
Good evening. I'm here to speak against the rezoning of 103 South Magnolia. Since December of 2024, when Mr. Dungan first requested rezoning of 115 South Magnolia, at every town council meeting unknown to the speaking public, a new plan has been ruminating in the council, or our councilwoman has presented it as a surprise solution. We are on to your tactics now. And tonight, we don't have to wait for Miss Johnson-Wilson to surprise us, nor
Ma'am,
will we think that a vote
can
to
you pause
deny.
that for a second? If you would just address council as a whole and not any of us individually, because we
Okay.
all work to represent the town together. Thank you.
It's our district. She's our district representative.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Did you see our faces when at the April 20th town council meeting, the mayor spoke up to deny rezoning of 115 South Magnolia? Along with a shock, we suspected a different plan was being sat on. It was hatched at the standing committee meeting Monday night, an overlay district. In this overlay district, there would not be a need for owner occupancy in the case of 115 South Magnolia. And the attorneys who are requesting a rezoning of 103 South Magnolia could have their business there without needing to rezone either. I know that tonight, no matter what any of us say in opposition, you will vote for a first reading to bide time for this new overlay, or you won't vote for a first reading because the overlay has been promised and everyone will save face on this rezoning request.
We have and will continue to speak on behalf of protecting this historic district. We love it, and we want neighbors, not businesses in our backyard. Thank you.
Frank Tomchek.
Good evening, Town Council. Just weeks ago, this council made a clear and unanimous decision regarding 115 South Magnolia. Tonight, you're being asked to consider 103 South Magnolia, just 4 doors down, on the same side of the street, under the same zoning protections, with the same negative consequences for the rest of the current residents. Since December of 2024, we have experienced a steady effort by you, the Town Council, to reshape a residential district around the desire of business interests, particularly the bed and breakfast industry, rather than around the protection homeowners relied upon when they purchased their homes here. Now we're hearing discussion of an overlay district that would allow professional offices and non-owner occupied bed and breakfast inside the residential neighborhood without rezoning at all. That is a fundamental rewrite of our historic residential district. We're not anti-business, but once commercial use crosses South Magnolia, there is no buffer. We should not have had to discover through FOIA requests, piece by piece, that the character of our neighborhood is being rewritten around commercial interest after months of behind-the-scenes discussions, but we have. The residents of the historic district are ticked off at the nefarious backroom dealings and always blindsided at the Somerville Town Council meetings. To approve 103 would now directly contradict your unanimous vote last month and signal that zoning decision that appears to be based on only one criterion: who is asking? Thank you.
Randy Sharpie.
I don't know anything about an overlay district, but I think we're talking about 2 different issues. 115 and 103 are 2 different properties. And 115 asks for a much more expansive zoning. The zoning that is being asked for 103 is identical to what's across the street. And the 2 men who are asking for this have remodeled, renovated an historic property on West 2nd South Street and were recognized by the Somerville Preservation Society for their efforts. They've outgrown that property and they want to relocate to 103 South Magnolia. The owners of 103 South Magnolia have spent years working on the inside of the building, but all of you who live in that neighborhood know that the exterior of that property is not in good condition. We have 2 business people who want to come in and make that an asset for your neighborhood, not to degrade it in any manner. It would also be in a compliance with the properties across the street, which I understand is not spot zoning, as some people think, call it, if you have other properties across the street. In order for anyone to do anything with this property, like larger, to make apartments or to do something else, they would have to raise this building and they would have to get permission to do that from the Somerville Preservation Society, which I think it would be out of the question. So I think the benefits are, one thing, it's going to add to the atmosphere of the neighborhood. You don't have any nighttime noises. You have low traffic. The town would benefit from having 6% property taxes rather than 4. That could be used for other purposes in town. I think it would add tremendously to the neighborhood. It would also help neighboring businesses because of the foot traffic would support other downtown. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that's all I have for public comment for items on the May 14th agenda. Next is petitions. Petition by the Commissioner of Public Works of the Town of Somerville to annex Dorchester County TMS 14400000189, approximately 2.08 acres, located along the Berlin G. Myers Parkway, which is currently zoned other in Dorchester County, to be zoned PL Public Lands upon annexation into the Town of Somerville's municipal limits. This would be in Council District 5. The Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for approval of the annexation and zoning at its meeting on April 20th, 2026. The Planning and Development Committee voted to move the item to full council with recommendation for approval at its meeting on May 11th, 2026.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the petition and give first reading.
All right, motion and a second to approve the petition for first reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Under pending bills and resolutions, item A, second and final reading of an ordinance to annex TMS number 14400000082, located at Loudon Drive and King Charles Circle and totaling approximately 4.26 acres, currently zoned TRM, Transitional Residential District in Dorchester County, and requested to be zoned MFR, multifamily residential, following annexation to the Town of Somerville's municipal limits. This would be in Council District 5.
Mr. Mayor, I will be recusing myself from voting or discussing this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Halter.
Mr. Mayor, I move to give to approve second and final reading.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve second and final reading. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to ask one of the church members, is putting the land you're not using under a conservation easement still on the table?
We looked into that, to the wetlands. We have 39 acres and 7.5 of them. So we can continue to look into that. Right now, that plan's not in place, but we can certainly continue to research it. We don't have a problem with the wetlands have it.
Well, that would answer a big question on 180 multifamily buildings.
All right, council members, any other discussion?
Yes.
Councilwoman?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I did meet with the church the other day, and even though I'm not in favor of the rezoning for what they want to be rezoned for, I walked away with the meeting feeling very good that you're standing behind what you say. And with the members that showed up tonight and standing behind them, I also take that you're standing behind that decision of what we're asking for as far as Newington goes. I'm a resident right outside of Newington. I don't live in Newington, but I do own a home in Newington, so I am a vote for Newington also. I feel very good about the agreement that was come to, and yes, it's not written and signed off and annotated by lawyers yet. We're hoping that hopefully in the next 30 to 60 days that will be done. And as I say, just like the rest of Newington, again, we are not in opposition of your church being there. We actually think it's the best thing ever. It was all about the zoning. I do feel that this process would have been done maybe differently from the very beginning. It might have taken a little bit longer, but I feel that it could have been zoned the right way. and that you could have gotten your allowances that you needed for your steeple or setbacks, et cetera, because we can approve some of those types of items, and you still would have gotten the product that you wanted. So I wanted on record saying that I'm hoping that this is all going to work out and that we're going to have a great relationship with the church. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other comments or questions from council? I just want to state that, number one, we set the ground rules for our public dialogue, and each and every one of you honored that very well. And I'm grateful for each and every one of you for how you conducted yourself, even with opposing views. When it comes down to some of the comments I heard, trying to relate this to the previous vote against, the vote against was voting against the annexation of that parcel into the town of Somerville for the use that the prospective builder was intending. It was a use that did not reflect what the community wanted. We gave them an opportunity to sit down with the community. The community made it very clear that that intended use would be harmful to the community. And we voted, as you stated, unanimously against it when we recognized that that person did not value our community. We are faced with another annexation request with an entity that I've only heard positive things about. I heard even the opposers of the zoning designation very positive about what the church can do to enhance and improve the community. The off-peak traffic, it was a big plus. Not adding children in the schools that are already overcrowded was a big plus. And it sounded like that was a big win. I want to thank Councilwoman Garden for her leadership, pulling both the HOA and the church together yesterday to have a conversation. And that led to very productive dialogue over the last 24 hours, which I believe puts us in a place where, in good faith, each entity is agreeing to their perspective, thought that, number one, this is going to be a church and not a multifamily redevelopment. And there's a willingness to put a deed restriction to that effect. There's also a willingness to make sure that the HOA and the Newington community has an opportunity to have the first right of refusal if the church no longer seeks to be there. Both of those to me sound in good faith and I believe in line with what the community expects. So I just want to say thank you. It's a very different situation when you have someone looking to annex and rezone, and you want them to be here. It sounds like we want you to be here. So we want to lay out a path that is the most effective and efficient and useful for what you want to do. So with that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it. If you feel led to leave and spend time, we'll give you maybe a minute to move out quietly and expeditiously, but safely, please. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you for coming. Did you learn anything? So I'm watching sausage. Okay. It sounds like people are moving out expeditiously and quietly. And with that, we'll have the doors closed as they depart. And we'll resume the meeting to respect everyone else's time.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I'd move that we approve items B, C, and D on the agenda for a second and final reading.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve items B, C, and D for second and final reading. Any discussion?
I'd just like to confirm for the record that if we remove the petitions for annexation, the annexations still have to have 2 readings, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Good clarification. Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Under introduction of bills and resolutions, item A, adoption of Target Zero Policy Resolution for Safe Streets for All Safety Action Plan. Public Works and Committee on Water Supply voted to move this item to full council with a recommendation for approval at its meeting on May 11th, 2026.
I'll make a motion to approve first reading.
Second.
All right, motion in 2 seconds to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item B, first reading of an ordinance to adopt an operating budget for the town of Somerville for fiscal year 2026, 2027.
I'll make a motion that we approve that.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to approve first reading. Any discussion?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Councilwoman.
Yeah, I have several comments, if I may. First, I want to commend the staff for creating that capital replacement plan and capital budget that we've not had before. I think that's a great step in the right direction. And I appreciate all the hard work in that. But it's concerning to support first reading for a couple reasons. It's removing the dedicated sidewalk project funding. I don't feel like it goes far enough with fair compensation across all the departments and of the path for utility undergrounding. So if I may make a couple of specific comments on that. First year I was on council, town approved approximately 500,000. Well, it was 500,000 for sidewalk capital improvement fund. The second year was 600,000. And now we're removing that, but we do have a capital budget and a capital plan just without sidewalks. I know that that's a limited amount, whether it's 5 or 6 or 800, it's not going to complete a lot of sidewalks, but it does show the residents that we are, our continued commitment to that. We've just adopted the Target Zero Safe Streets policy, and I think that having a true sidewalk funding mechanism to that is important, not only just policy language, but that we actually show it by funding those in a capital plan. And I think there should be ways that we find a way to do that. I think across our departments, they're receiving only a 3% cost of living increase. But then there's, and excluding police and fire, there's still a couple individuals that are receiving 15,000 to 18,000 more raise, while most people, 98% of the people are getting only a 3%. I feel like that's a mismatch and needs to be a little bit better oversight in some way. I think we could do a better job balancing that and making sure that it's a little more fair across the departments. We're considering retiree health insurance, which I've been a proponent of and pushed since I got on council for our police and fire predominantly because they are in harm's way every day. But if we make that even across the departments, I'm fine with that. But I'm not necessarily fine with us funding that when everyone else is getting only a 3% and other people, police and fire, are getting substantially more as they deserve. And then there are others that are looking at this approved budget with departments getting 15,000 to 19,000 to particular employees a year. I disagree with that. I think there could be a better compensation bucket. The way we allocate our franchise fees, 60% of them going to the general fund, 40% to the road fund to pay for the Bear Island debt, without any dedicated portion for undergrounding utilities on inside streets. When we have residents that are willing to do some matching, I don't necessarily agree with that approach. I would love for the staff to look at creating an underground utility policy or a pilot program, dedicating a portion of those franchise fees to undergrounding. I understand that we are going to be undergrounding in the Main Street program, but that is being provided through not our funding, but through the state. So I'm not going to vote first reading. I would ask that staff at least look to restore that 600,000 for sidewalk capital projects, especially as we've just approved this item on the agenda for Target Zero policy for safe streets. It seems like it goes hand in hand when not just having a policy. And then look to maybe have a more equitable compensation bucket for the other departments as well. They work hard, they're here working late, and I think that's important, even if that means doing something different with retiree health insurance or lowering that a little bit. So our other people are changing the stipulations of how you qualify for retiree health insurance so other people can get a little more than a 3% cost of living. So that is all I have. And I'll provide my notes to staff as well. And
Thank you,
council.
Councilwoman. Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor, I want to commend our finance department and our department heads. Over the when we started the budget conversation several months ago, we were a couple $1 million over budget. And our department heads went back, sharpened their pencils, gave up personnel, gave up equipment. And I am very proud of this budget. It's a budget that funds our town without any tax increases. And I'm very proud of that.
Mayor,
Thank you, Councilman. Yes, sir.
I'd just like to say I'm going to vote for this, but I kind of agree with Councilwoman Wilson. The other employees need more. And I mean, I appreciate the team that did this for squeezing water out of a brick. But we got there. And I know there is no excess to be found. But I think in January, we need to revisit the rest of the people None of this would be going on without them. They are important. And I don't know, to me, a 3% raise anywhere is kind of useless.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate that.
I just want to thank our staff as well. Everybody did a great job, and there was a lot of teamwork to get us to where we are. As Councilman Halter said, we were about $4 or $5 million off back in January, February, when we first started meeting on this, and to get here without a tax increase and provide some raises for all our employees. I agree that 3% is not enough, and I don't even like saying it, that that's what we're doing for a large number of departments, but that's just where we are. I'm pleased that we were finally able to get our public safety departments to a level where they compete with so much of our surroundings, and our surroundings have so much more to offer than what we do from a salary standpoint. And that's so it puts our two public safety departments and our dispatchers in a pretty tough spot when they're here and they got to find somebody to ride those fire trucks and get those patrol cars and strap guns to their side. So I'm so excited for you guys. I agree with Councilman Jackson that we should probably take a look at this in January and see where we are and see what we can do for the rest of our employees above the 3%. And I think that'll be an avenue we stay on, and as we continue to move the needle in the right direction. So thank you guys again for all of your hard work. No tax increases either. So that's awesome.
Any other comments? I echo what several of you said. Mr. Slatton, you and your team, Ms. Rhonda, and all the department heads, I feel like you pulled a rabbit out of a hat over the course of 6 months, and I'm just grateful for you for your effort. I agree wholeheartedly that if we can demonstrate that we're outperforming some of our revenue projections early on, we really need to consider those exceptional staff members that only are receiving a 3% raise and find a way to shore them up. But at this point in time, I'll go ahead and call for the question for first reading. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
One opposed. The ayes have it.
Item C, first reading of an ordinance to delete current section 16-5 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Somerville and replace it with a new section 16-5 so as to establish an outdoor entertainment district and other matters related thereto. The Parks and Recreation Department voted to move the item to full council for consideration at its meeting on May 11th, 2026.
Madam Clerk, just for council, I want to confirm this first reading of an ordinance would be read here. Then it would be forwarded to the Planning Commission. Or no, this is not a UDO change. This is just 2 readings for us. Okay. Very good. Council members, I want to make sure.
You're correct.
Okay.
You're correct.
So
Just straight up.
Straight up.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second to approve first reading. Discussion. All right. Oh, Councilwoman?
Yeah, I would say, I think this is in my district, and I've heard from some of the residents, and most of it's been positive. People do have concerns about enforcement of this, about noise, about littering. They felt like that noise was an issue before, and there was enforcement issues was an issue before. I think this could be great for economic development in the community, but I could see where it could potentially cause concern for my constituents that have brought up the issues. So I'd like to support first reading of this, but I would like us to look at a companion noise ordinance amendment. I spoke with the chief today, and he would support a noise ordinance amendment without the decibel meter, but within, say, 50 feet of a residence or something like that. And perhaps adding to this like a written enforcement plan, like what happens at 10:30, what happens at, how is that enforced? And then maybe considering also like a trash litter plan. Can we put out some more within our general budget? I would think that we could put out some more trash cans and things like that within this area, so we don't begin to have a littering problem. And perhaps, some kind of boundary signage, maybe. It doesn't, we don't have to do that, but I do think that that would help with the enforcement and potentially cause less complaints. So, and then maybe seeing how it goes, doing this like a 6 month or period of time and seeing how it goes and what the number of complaints are that the police have had versus the previous 6 months. I think is something that we should look at, but I do want to support first reading overall. I think this would be good for the area, but, some of my constituents do have a concern and would like us to tighten up our noise ordinance and, have that kind of a written enforcement plan and some trash cans. So.
Councilwoman, anybody else? Hearing none. All those in favor of passing first reading, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item D, first reading of an ordinance to rezone TMS number 13709010111, located at 727 Central Avenue, totaling approximately 0.23 acres and owned by Trilogy Properties of Somerville LLC from GR5 General Residential to NB Neighborhood Business in Council District 1. The Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for approval at its meeting on April 20th, 2026. The Planning and Development Committee voted to move the item to full council with a recommendation for approval at its meeting on May 11th, 2026.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to approve. Any discussion?
I'd just like to ask if staff can clarify, because in the department head report, it said 0.37 acres, and I know this and the draft says 0.23 acres. Can we just clarify that for the record? Is it 0.23?
It should be whatever's on the agenda.
Okay.
And we can make that, that's a scrivener's error, we can make that correction for second reading.
Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item E, first reading of an ordinance to rezone TMS number 13707160001, located at 103 South Magnolia Street, totaling approximately 0.34 acres and owned by David L. and Kimberly D. Garber from GR2 to NMX Neighborhood Mixed Use in Council District 2. The Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for denial at its meeting on April 20th, 2026. The Planning and Development Committee voted to move the item to full council with no recommendation at its meeting on May 11th, 2026.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve.
I second.
All right, motion and a second to approve. Any discussion?
My knee-jerk reaction is no, to vote no, but I am gonna vote for first reading so I can look into it further. But, after the 115, I think we need to be careful.
Any other discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, yeah, real good.
Go ahead, Mr. Halter.
If nothing else, I am consistent. And if you think about Shelbourne Law Firm, Leviner Law Firm, Opal, Studio 106, those are all businesses directly across the street from this address. And those historic homes have never looked better. I think sometimes an infusion of commercial money into historic homes can be a good thing for the historic district. And I think the particular use of neighborhood mixed use for this address is a good use as well.
Councilman.
Mr. Mayor, I voted against the rezoning first and second reading of Richardson Avenue and South Magnolia last month and the previous month before that. Mostly because our land use map is what we use to guide our principles and the way we basically plan our town. So that's what I'm stuck to that. I don't disagree that commercial money, especially on this property, would do a good job with that, with infusing and beautifying the property. I personally know the people that are going to take over this want to take over this piece of property, and I consider them friends of mine. Hopefully after my vote tonight, we can still be friends. But it has nothing to do with that. It has all to do with the way that we've decided that parcel to move. A law office is not a very impactful business on a community, but, on a surrounding development. But, in this case tonight, I'm not gonna vote in favor of it.
Any other discussion?
Yes, this is in my district and I am consistent and do what I say. I supported the Magnolia Bed and Breakfast because I think that, bed and breakfasts are a part of Somerville's heritage and I believe in that. This property, that property and this property, they are right directly, these four houses, I believe it is right across from law offices. This particular four house block, I think because it's directly across from these similar uses, that it is okay. I would, of course, I would much prefer a limited overlay district that limited to just professional offices and bed and breakfast and not other things allowed in NMX. But I do believe that a bed and breakfast was going to go there, and I believe that a law office is going to go here. And I take people for what they say, and that's how I operate, and I do what I say, and I expect them to as well. And I want my vote though to, on the record, to state, I'm not supporting non-residential zoning or uses on the other side of Magnolia Street, further down or deeper into the residential historic districts. And I do think we need to protect our historic districts, the residential historic districts. But I am in support of this block, or the Magnolia Bed and Breakfast and this one being in MX tonight.
Any other comments? I'll just say I'm going to support first reading of this rezoning request. It's impossible for our development ordinance to have a perfect fit zoning for every piece of property. And we're in a situation where we see that the use makes a lot of sense in this location. However, rezoning sometimes comes with a lot of negative consequences, and we have to be respectful of the property owners already around there. So trying to be respectful of the property owners around there and doing what's in the best for the historic preservation of the town of Somerville is certainly something we need to continue to pursue. And in this case, I'll pass first reading. So all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
One nay. The ayes have it.
Under miscellaneous, item A, authorization for staff to enter into an auto aid and response agreement with Dorchester County Fire and Rescue, request by the Somerville Fire and Rescue Department.
I move for approval of.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item B, authorization for staff to sign a 2-year contract extension with the Somerville Girls Softball League for play at Gahagan Park. Parks and Recreation Committee voted to move the item to full council with the recommendation for approval at its meeting on May 11th, 2026.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item C, approval of HUD allocation of $272,422 to CDBG recipients for the 2026-2027 program year, as presented in the council agenda packet with amendments from the Finance Committee meeting on May 11th, 2026. And those are on the screen right now. And they were also emailed to you.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to approve. Any discussion?
I just want to say, I know I wasn't here. I was on Zoom on Monday, but thank you so much, Rhonda and Kat. Y'all did a phenomenal job. The rest of council, I think what we came up with is excellent for our community. I'm very pleased with the CDBG funding this year.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Yeah, excellent job, staff. I do want to make this comment for our community members that are here. This approval does not finalize it, but it sends it out for public notice from this point forward so that your input can still be gathered on this program. This is not the final approval of this. All right. Any other discussion, council members? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Under public comment number 2, Lakeisha King Willis.
Hello, my name is Lakeisha King Willis. I humbly stand before you all this evening with my 77-year-old mother, Shirley King. As of 4/9/2026, my daughter and I closed on a home from Clayton Homes. We put our resources together and hope to come together so that we can have more space, so that I will be able to move my mother in to take care of her and still allow my 8-year-old grandson to have his own room. My concerns on this day is about the property located at 934 West Doty Avenue here in Somerville, which is where we would like to put our new home. We have gone through all of the proper channels to open but not start electricity and sewer services, since the property owner had verified that a home had already existed at the location. Well, once it came time for permits and planning to have the home move to the location, everything came to a halt. The layout on the property has 5 homes already on it. And now our new home can't go there. Again, I'm humbly asking that you all please allow us to put our new home there. We have nowhere else to put it that's affordable. And now it's just sitting there at Clayton Homes in Moncks Corner. Please do not cease this lifetime changing experience from happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Willis. If, I'm not sure if it's better for Miss Brown or Miss Jessie, if you don't mind just getting her information and finding out exactly. Thank you.
Diane Frankenberger.
Hey there, my name is Diane Frankenberger and I live at 310 Central Avenue and I have a business at 129 West Richardson Avenue. And I would like to respectfully request, well, first of all, at church, they gave us a bracelet and it said, love where you live. And I do love where I live, but but I don't like where I live now. And the reason for that is that there seems to be more speeding on motorcycles, with cars, and with trucks than there's ever been before. And the noise, and I asked my husband what this popping noise is, and he said it is, it's because a modification has been that causes the engines to backfire. And although that is not against the law, I believe it does violate a noise ordinance. And just even waiting to be able to come up here tonight, there was so much noise and all the stereos that were going. On a few occasions when I've been out front showing people where the sweet tea mason jar is, and that goes by, they look at me like, what in the world is going on here? Cottageville has had a bad reputation, well, not really, as being a speeding trap, but you know what? Nobody speeds through there. There are schools and churches there along Cedar and along Central Avenue, and I would ask that things be enforced. And then, this is my yellow vest and my red flag that I use when I park my car in order to cross the street to go to work. Just recently, I've almost been hit on Cedar, crossing Cedar Street there, for people turning right on red. There's a lot going on there. I mean, I know they're not doing that on purpose, of course, but there's a lot going on. And where the little person is that says you can cross, they're looking to the left to make sure nothing's coming. And then they go and I had this red flag down in Charleston. And so I to take my flag and just shook it at that person. And he just didn't even know what had happened. So just like we have in other places, if it said no turn on red, not only at Cedar and Richardson, but I think at Main in Richardson, it would be a lot safer for all of us. And thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, that's all I have for public comment. Executive session?
Mr. Mayor, I move we enter executive session to discuss personnel matter regarding appointments to fill 2 vacancies on the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to go into executive session, to discuss personnel matter regarding appointments to fill 2 vacancies on the Board of Zoning Appeals. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are in executive session.